I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Hostion Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I am an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian salad.
Canadian salad. Welcome back. Hi, Hostion.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I am warm and cozy as it's raining outside. How are you?
I am feeling the Canadian winter, the Canadian blues.
Yeah. Oh no. Yes, it hits us all, doesn't it? Do you
I
have any
know the winter.
like a sun lamp, or do you go tanning to help that? I know some people find that
No,
effective.
no. I just tend to go to, some very, bubbly friends and hope they can be the sunshine of my day.
Oh, that's what you oh, you need sun friends, not
Yes, sun
sun
friends.
lamps. You need sun friends. Maybe not all friends are sun friends, but
No,
yes,
some
no,
of
I hear
them,
you. I hear
yes.
you.
Or
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can be the sun friend.
I will be your sun friend today.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I am beaming, glowing, sending all my orange and yellow glowy orbs to you. Yeah, and I know this topic today isn't going to be very sunny or sunshiny, but I think
Oh,
it's a very
really?
important.
What
Yeah,
is what is the topic? I don't
it's kind of
know.
a cloudy topic, but we are going to be beacons of hope and sunshine through it all. Today's topic, we're going to talk about reverse migration and why immigrants are leaving Canada, and what does that mean for us living here?
Reverse migration. For people who don't know what that means, you can just read the title.
Reverse migration. It means you
Yeah.
you leave, you go
Yeah.
backwards. You
Immigrants that leave in Canada.
Yes, they're leaving, going back to their countries of origins. And for all, if I know there's probably some haters out there who might be rejoicing, but you better think twice about what you're rejoicing about, because we're going to talk about why this is so bad.
Is
But
yeah. I think
yeah,
for many people also it comes as a shock because I think a lot of it
yes.
has this stereotype or idea that Canada is a country of immigrants, means, people usually come to Canada, not leave Canada.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. There are two Canadas that exist in the immigrant experience. The Canada we were sold and packaged and marketed, right? It's going to be equal opportunity and good living wages. And then we arrive here, and none of that tends to fall through and actually be proven for the immigrant experience, at least
Exact.
not for a large majority. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever think of moving back to the States?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot that's been happening in the States, and I'm like, nope, I will survive. I will rent until I am old and gray. Um, yeah, I think definitely within the first 3 to 5 year mark for myself. So when we first moved here, it was really hard to find couple friends or people that
Mm-hmm.
just really wanted to reciprocate invitations to dinner, that really
Oh,
wanted to genuinely be our friends. Now, this is not at all including all of the beautiful people at Railroads University who were our automatic family. Like, those were our
our
family.
family, yes.
Yes,
For people
they
who
were.
do, who people who don't know,
Yes.
me and Andrew used to be classmates.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did. It was the best time of
yes,
my life. One
I
of
know.
the,
But
it
again,
really
outside
was.
of class,
But yes,
yeah.
outside of class, when you're doing your day to day and your job and everything like that, it was just really hard to find friendships and people who really genuinely were honestly telling you that they wanted to be your friend. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
other part that really got isolating was when we had my son.
Oh,
So it was this, families all in the States. We could have automatic babysitters, grandma, grandpa, right? That would be the dream. We would have cousins and aunties that, could help us, that, and cousins that our son could play with. But it was, so it always looked attractive. And I would say for the past 6 years, it's like, I think we could do this. And I mean, just the way things are happening in the States, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm gonna stay. So
Oh,
yeah, so I've had that. How about you, Hoshin? Have you ever had moments where you're like, gosh, it would be so much easier just to go back home?
to be honest, moving to Canada, in some sense, I had to because I
Mm,
know I'm not gonna go back to Canada. And then I was like, I got to put all my money into, my schooling here because I wanted to stay in Canada.
right.
So that kind of thought before coming to Canada to begin with.
Yeah.
So no matter how much hardship I was going through, in moments I wanted to give up, I still kind of because I had no way back. So there's no thought of giving up. So that's kind of that's the big picture. But
Yeah.
then I did have moments that felt like um this is too hard. This is way too hard, especially when I first landed for a couple
Okay.
months and then trying to settle my life here and then looking for a job. That was the most difficult,
Mm,
looking for a
mm,
job. Because
mm.
even though I personally think I'm very qualified in many
You
ways, I have
are.
a lot of international working
Yes.
experience, you
Yes.
know,
You're
um,
incredible.
thank you. I mean, I'm very approachable, all that
Yeah.
thing, but it took me about I think 8 months ish to find a job, which is the most
Wow.
difficult
Yes. Yes.
that the longest that ever took me to find a job. It was very
Yeah.
difficult. I remember during those times I was like, oh my God, if I still cannot, I mean, I might just, I might just
Right.
give up.
Your savings are running out. You're like,
Yeah,
how am
like
I
my
going to
saving,
pay rent?
all of that, exactly. So
Yeah.
that was really tough, especially when I'm traveling back to Asia. I also time to time I have feelings, oh, maybe I should just move back. So much easier. And
Right.
usually that's related to being, Asian, in Asian countries always because we're the majority, racism not a thing. It was so
Right.
much
Right.
easier. Also, I speak my
Yeah.
language. And then especially with my foreign education, my foreign living experience, also comes with a lot of privilege. I understand if I
I
move back
see.
to Asia, I will have so much privilege that will make my life so much easier if I just go back to some
So
other country in Asia.
so it's seen as almost like, well, he has this international experience, so he's even more qualified.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
qualified, or also having a master degree in a
Sure.
foreign country that also seen as way more like, that is prestigious, in some
I
sense.
see. I see.
And yeah, so especially my last trip, my most recent trip in Taiwan, I was like, oh, maybe I can move here because
Yeah.
it seems so much easier as an Asian
Yeah.
man in
Yeah.
Taiwan than as an Asian man
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in Canada. But then I really think about it, also think about the queer liberation or
I see.
equality, and then I
Yeah.
realized, oh, actually, maybe Canada is also not bad.
Yeah. It's such a
It
toss up, right?
it is. It's
Because
like give and take. It definitely is a give and take.
yeah.
You
And
know.
there is this, I hear this with you, I hear this, and with myself too. There's this desire to rest,
Mm,
where you don't have to defend yourself or double check yourself or think about the words you're going to say because you're not sure how the person on the outside is going to take them.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All of those unspoken expectations or those unspoken ways of communication are just understood in your home, in your country of origin. And so there is a lot more rest than when you're here and there's a filter for everything. And then you're code switching, right? Like you're trying to,
Code switching, exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Trying to communicate in a way that,
that is a Canadian
that
way.
is Canadian. That's for your
Yeah,
survival. So
exactly.
this is a common,
Yeah,
it's such a common struggle that immigrants face. This is not for the faint of heart. It is
I
not.
agree. It's definitely
Yeah.
hard. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
is there any proof or number to show that
Oh gosh.
people are
Yes.
leaving Canada?
Yes. So great, great question, Hoshin. There are loads of data. In fact, this is very recent data that has come out
Oh.
of IRCC, Stats Canada, the Institute of Canadian Citizenship, the Conference Board of Canada, all of these bodies that are looking at the immigration commitment levels that Canada has made, which is great. Great numbers,
Mm-hmm,
guys.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Except people are leaving and Canada is not retaining her goals. So this is through the Conference Board of Canada. All the links are on our website for those of you who are new listening. But the highest surge of immigrants leaving was between 2017 and 2019. This isn't even the pandemic. And we have 31% of immigrants leaving, the all-time high, because in years past, it's been 10, 11%, very small numbers, but 31% is large. And the projected rates of leaving, they're not slowing down. Actually, a lot of these articles that are coming out and all of these forums and all of these bodies are saying, look, if we don't do something now, that 31% in the next 5 years is probably going to reach to 50%. Like it's just going to keep climbing. And what was interesting is that the research basically stated that typically the migration leaving, the exit migration, or how I was thinking about the term today, the Immigrexit. I don't know if that's it's like Brexit, but it's like immigration exit.
Oh, Immigrexit. Okay.
Immigrexit. Anyway, that's a terrible term. It's really hard to say. There's no clever way to say that immigrants are leaving. So, but what was interesting is that the exit, the leaving of Canada, happens between year 4 and year 7.
Oh,
so
the 7-year itch.
The 7-year itch. Yes. Which we find this in relationships. We find this with our jobs. We find this just in life in general. But I think it is important to note that 4 to 7 years might not seem like a long time, but it really, really is, especially for immigrants and migrants, refugees who are really trying to integrate here. And you go through, we haven't talked about integration models yet, but there are those honeymoon periods and those like, I can't do this, I'm leaving. And then there's the Canada's so great, I'm never going to leave. Right. So it's really at this point in time. And usually if an immigrant has been here past the 7-8 year mark, most likely they will stay. It's kind of this, well, I'm committed. This is where I'm gonna,
And usually that's probably how long it takes for immigrants to kind of establish some sort of foundation or another insert themselves into some sort of community and society to realize whether that is for them.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So those are kind of the stats, but I think we'll go right into like why, like,
of course,
because we've stayed. Hostion, could I ask, like, I mean, you kind of alluded to this, but like, what is your core reason for staying in Canada?
For me, is freedom. I will say that's. I think depends on where you're from. I think what's important to you, is very different because we always want things that we don't have. Obviously,
sure.
So back in China, of course, like my queer identity is very important to me, and then I know if I'm back there, I would not, that identity of mine, I always have to hide it, and then also in the sense of freedom of speech, freedom of expressing myself, no matter identity or ideas. And I know if I go back, that will be very difficult for me to do so. So the main reason for me to stay in Canada is definitely the kind of freedom that it offers. And also a very important part of it is, of course, is that I'm privileged enough to have a job or have a circle that accepts me, that a job that provides enough income for me to stay, and then a circles that accepts me and celebrates me. And I think those two are the, like, how to say that reality that allows me even to stay here too, not just once. It's sometimes also whether it allows me to stay. And those are the reasons why I am still here. And I think you touched on just 2 of them, but why immigrants are leaving. Basically, there is this huge inability to transfer skills. Right. Not surprised.
So stats. Right. I know. And I know BC's working on some career pathways and transferable skill means to retain immigrants who are coming here. But Stats Canada came out with a statistic recently. 60% of working age new immigrants, okay, so this is ages 25 to 64, 60% of that demographic hold a bachelor's degree or higher. Okay, so 60%, so majority of immigrants that are coming to Canada are not They're not the construction or trade industry. These are folks with bachelor degrees, higher education, doctors, nurses, teachers. A quarter of those with higher education, though, are extremely overly qualified for their current jobs in Canada because they can't transfer those skills here. So that's one reason why immigrants are leaving. Obviously, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And so then housing costs. This is nothing new for anyone listening or for us, right?
I think most people would, think of
Right.
this,
Everyone would.
know.
So just to give you some numbers very briefly, this is the Canadian housing market stats and data. So the average cost of a home in Canada is $650,000. So that's all the homes in Canada average out.
Yeah.
That's nice. In British Columbia, the average home sells for $968,000. We are just shy of $1 million.
Oh my God.
Right now, the Canadian housing market is at 40% higher average rates than United States. So it is cheaper to live in the United States than it is in Canada.
It is cheaper. And the average income, the state is higher.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here in Canada, we make less money and pay more to obtain a house.
Go Canada.
Wow. And I just also want to add another data on rent. Now, the owning is not everyone's dream, maybe, but rent is, if you want a place, at least you have to rent. The average rent for one bedroom in Canada is $1,900 in October 2023.
For a one bedroom.
$1,900 for one bedroom. I remember when I was living in Victoria, 2014 or 15, one bedroom is about like 1,000 max. No, maybe 11. Yeah, 1,000 to 11-ish.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I first moved, I rented a room.
Yeah.
It had a bathroom, but it was like $600 a month for my room, my bedroom.
Your bedroom, yeah.
My bedroom.
Your bedroom. Is it one bedroom?
Well, it was in a lady's house. She had her bedroom, I had my bedroom, and I got to use the kitchen on occasion. And then I had a bathroom, which I had to clean every week. I had to clean my... Anyway, I had to make it spick and span. Oh, those were the days.
That's the average in Canada. In Vancouver, for example, now, because I'm living in Vancouver, the number is crazy. In Vancouver, in 2023, October, $2,872.
Ew. And if you're an immigrant and you can't transfer your doctor's license, or like even a teacher, like teachers are having a hard time even transferring that, and we have in BC, we have a shortage of doctors, we have a shortage of nurses, we have a shortage of teachers, we have all these shortages. And it's like people are here, ding, 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 ding. And everyone's like, no, you get to like work at McDonald's and then you can never afford a one bedroom because we're just going to put you at McDonald's.
Yeah, because your education outside of Canada is not as good as us.
Yeah.
It's ours.
Take a big lesson, Canada, from China. I mean, the idea that you have this outside international accreditation should be this very prestigious thing, but it's not in Canada. In fact, it's the opposite, which is a good segue to the reception that immigrants have in Canada. And we're going to talk specifically about racial discrimination and oppression, right?
Yes.
So there's two Canadas, right? The one I was sold, and then the second one is the one I experienced, right?
Yeah.
So, and we talked about this in other episodes, but there is a long history of racial discrimination within Canada's immigration system.
Very much so,
right?
yeah.
You can listen to maybe 6 or 7 of our episodes and we actually talk about it, right? Like a lot.
It's a theme.
It is a theme. We should change it to Canadian racial discrimination and oppression of crouton salad podcast or something. Racism and discrimination, it's huge here and it's not changing, right? There was some research. The title of the paper was Racism, Discrimination, and Migrant Workers in Canada, research from the literature. This is on the Canadian government website by Lenny Mouton. And basically, the survey basically said that nearly half of Black people aged 15 years and older reported experiencing at least one form of discrimination in the past 5 years, compared to 16% of non-Indigenous and non-visible minority population.
Wow.
So 4 in 10 of Black people experience discrimination based on their race, skin color, and it's 15 times higher than the 3% that I, as a non-Indigenous, non-Black person, experience. And a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people from my very same tone of skin, white people I'm talking to you out there, I've heard a lot of you all say, that doesn't exist here. No, we're not like the United States. We're so much better. We're a salad. We integrate people. Everyone can be who they are to an extent. Like, this is the data that's out there.
Yeah,
right?
if you actually look at data, it's very different. Like
It's awful.
as you said, the Canada that we are sold, which is maybe on TV, maybe on a lot of government officials, and the data they release, that we put the release, it looks good. But you actually
Right.
look closely to those data, and look closely to a lot of research, is actually not the fact. And just to add to your point, I also want to share a data from Toronto Star. There's analysis of Toronto police stop data. So they research on the data that police stop people walking the street, normal people walking the street, and the data from 2008 to mid 2011. The number of young Black and brown males age 15 to 24 documented in each of the city's 72 patrol zones. The number that they stopped are actually greater than the actual number of young male of color living in those areas. Meaning they stop way more people of color than way more male than the actual people that live in that area, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And even though in that data also have, they also stopped young male, white male, but they are not as pronounced as Black and brown youth.
No. No. And that's the reality. People are not rightfully stopped. If you're going to stop all these people, that doesn't speak to like the efficiency of the police department. If there's 72 patrol zones and young white men are not being stopped just as equal.
Yeah.
Right? That's
exactly.
not the efficiency of the police. What that is the efficiency of racism.
Exactly.
It's the efficiency of discrimination.
Yeah, and then in that report, though, in that Toronto Star report, which we will put the link in the website, the chief of this police station said, "No, that's not true. I don't believe that data was actually accurate." Like he even denies it, which was like, Government of Canada in 2021 also released a research also on racism, which again we'll put the link on the website. In 2018. 43% of hate crimes were motivated by hatred of a race or ethnicity. So like, almost half of hate crime that happens is usually race or ethnicity related. That also says volume of racism in Canada as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
It's just continuing. I mean, and that's a lot of people are the two forms of settlement that people experience. Well, all of them really, but it's with employment, right? Like, you don't have any Canadian work experience.
That is
your
also
name is
very subtle racism.
Oh gosh.
Well, actually not really subtle. I mean, it's
bluntly. We can dedicate a whole freaking episode to that. I have words.
And this last point I also add on is of why reverse racism happening is I personally believe also because the flexibility of the citizenship that it offers us. Because Canada, of course, we can hold a dual citizenship,
which is really nice.
Which is very nice. And then if you go abroad, you don't need to stay in Canada. You don't have to be a resident of Canada to maintain your citizenship, obviously, which is great. And then also any child born to a Canadian citizen outside of Canada automatically gets a Canadian citizenship as well, right? And these Canadian citizens outside of Canada also get financial benefits. Like Canada child benefits, for example.
Okay.
So you don't actually have to come here. You can just get your citizenship and never come back to Canada. Still receive some other benefits. Your kids will still become Canadian.
Wow, I did not know that.
Statistics Canada also 2016 have a data about roughly 4 million Canadian citizens were living abroad.
Wow.
And then 4 million. And that
Wow.
year in 2016, there's about 35 million Canadian, population wise.
Okay.
So about 11% of people are outside of Canada,
Wow.
live outside of Canada. So every 10, every 9%, there's almost one that doesn't live in Canada. And half of those people who live in Canada were citizens that either born in Canada or
Okay.
get it through like natural means, like applying citizenship.
Wow. That's a
Half of
big chunk of people and which explains more gaps in like the workforce and, within a lot of the structures and systems that we have. If you're just living abroad, well, there's a
Exactly.
vacant chair, there's a vacant seat. How do we fill that? Oh, immigration levels. Let's just make them high, but we won't retain them.
Yes. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's people are leaving.
people are
Even
leaving.
Canadians like that are born
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and get after citizenship, they also leave,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
have a friend. She is retired and I wanted to meet up with her and I couldn't because she said, "Oh, we're moving to Spain." I was like, "Oh, you go yeah, it's just so cheap. We can literally buy a house there and we love Spain." I'm like, "Well, you do you." I mean, that's awesome.
I
Spain,
know.
España is my dream. But
Maybe you
I
should move there.
well, that's a whole other thing, right? With immigration, you're starting over all over again.
I
And
know.
it's exhausting. It's
It's very
so
exhausting.
exhausting to find new friends, new community, new schools, new jobs, new everything. And no matter what part of Canada you live in, it's going to have a different culture, right? Every
Yeah,
province, every region has its own culture. So it's never ending
I
learning,
know.
you know,
And
you
even
know.
though, yeah, as you mentioned, immigrate to a new place is so difficult, people still are leaving.
Yes.
That says volume of the desperation people
Right.
feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that people are leaving, if
Yeah.
this continues,
Don't
what do
leave,
you think
Hostion.
yeah, I will
Don't
try not
leave.
to. So far, no plans yet.
Okay, good, good, good.
Um, what do you think are the impacts
Oh,
for us who
yeah.
still living here?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think, we've talked about how um, IRCC, their targets are an all-time high, right?
Yeah,
So if the people that they're bringing in leave, then that creates a lot more open spaces, a lot more need for jobs to be fulfilled. It
yeah,
actually undermines the ability for Canada to keep up with economic growth, to increase their GDP, to improve the worker to retiree ratio, which is like the gap is just huge, right? And it eases labor shortages. Another impact is that this is actually a global issue. It was interesting, UNESCO, created by the UN, but other countries are adapting immigration principles to transfer job skills for
yeah.
immigrants, right? So the UK, Japan,
Mm-hmm,
were among the 17 countries recently who agreed to adapt these immigration principles.
mm-hmm.
Canada, though,
Is that?
nah, no, we're good. No thanks. So there's solutions there, but it is impacting the whole of Canada.
I can potentially see all the point that you are talking about. I mean, also in general, I think if more immigrant leaves means, for example, to a very individual level, like if I as an immigrant or especially the POC walking the streets, seeing less people that are like me, my sense of belonging also will decrease. Probably it will slowly
Yeah,
also kind of
huge.
motivates me to leave here as well. But
Yeah,
I think if this reverse migration continues, I think it would only drive that kind of percentage of people leaving, or the
hmm
increased rate, which just gets
hmm
higher and higher
it does.
because less and less,
Yeah,
POC immigrants on the street,
that's
more
right.
POC will probably also want to move and
Yeah.
leave. Yeah,
And it makes it harder for everyone, including white people who are here, because they aren't like, we're talking, the global majority is 80% of the world's population,
yeah,
right? And those are the numbers coming to immigrate. And so honestly, if one community or one immigrant suffers, we all suffer.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
hard for white people. It's hard for white people to really grasp that, but it really does. It really does.
I think so.
There is no holistic care or any kind of system that will work for you, because eventually the system just works for itself and works
Yeah.
for those who are favored. But let's look at reality. Like, it's only favored men for a while, but slowly it's killing men too.
Yeah.
Right? It hasn't worked for women. It's not working for immigrants. We're not necessarily working for children very well. Like, this is our issue. This isn't an immigration issue. This
I
is
mean,
all of us.
all these issues always interlinked because we all live in a society. Like
Yes.
every part of these human issues are interlinked.
Right.
There's no
Right.
issue just only affect that part of people. They
Right.
all eventually comes back to haunt you if those other so-called other people's issue doesn't get resolved.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna visualize it, think of a waffle versus spaghetti. A waffle has squares, and it's like, you can't
Yes.
just cut off a square and be like, oh, it's all good, we're fine. We live in spaghetti, right? One noodle touches one meatball, which touches the other noodle, which touches the sauce. Like, it's all connected. There is no separation of anything.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's really, really important that the struggles that immigrants and people of color have faced affect us all. Hoshin, so we
Yeah.
don't end on a hopelessness note.
Ooh.
Like, do you have any encouragement that in your mind that, would maybe help immigrants who are listening? And maybe what would you say to the immigrant who's like, oh my gosh, like, these people are reading my mind, I'm actually considering going back home? What would you say?
I mean, of course, if this place really not giving you the life that you want and you feel like there's some other place can potentially give you a better life, of course, go. Even though we might want you to stay, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we just want a place, a life that fits our need. It might not be Canada, it might be somewhere else. So to the immigrants who wanted to leave and think there's a better place for you, you go ahead. But I, of course, think if we all just leave because a place that doesn't fit us, there's no good place in this world. In the sense that if a place does not work in your favor, maybe you can be the one to change it. You can be that change. You can be that pioneer. You can be that person who, to do whatever thing you can do to foster and cultivate a community or a new space that encourage and nurtures the next people that comes after you.
That's really beautiful. That's really encouraging. It's true, though, because, I mean, if you look at the people that came before, right?
Yeah, their life is way more difficult.
Oh my gosh.
I always think of, like, I know we share a lot of histories and stories about Chinese immigrants, their struggle. I always think of them. They worked in this, they worked for the Canadian Pacific Railway, that many of them died, work in harsh environment that I can never fathom, and they still find a way to stay, find a way to thrive, even and build a Chinese community that till today that are still standing, nurturing and educating many people.
Yeah.
And I always look to them, feel like, okay, if they can survive that and build a legacy, a place for us, then why can I not? Why can I, a man who still have a lot of privilege, not just to them, to many people, many other immigrants even, why can I not be that person who cultivate that space?
Yeah. That's so well said. And that's an encouragement for all citizens out there. If you're an immigrant and you became a citizen, right? Congratulations.
Yes,
I mean,
congratulations is not easy.
It is not easy, no, and it costs a ton of money. Anyway, that's another episode. But if you are someone who has the capacity to vote and you are like, I'm going to work hard for the next generation because I have the strength of my ancestors before me who were on this land, who worked really, really hard, then vote, participate, be a part of the change, right?
Exactly.
Amplify immigrant voices. This is something that I am absolutely very passionate about. And I was talking with a friend of mine because I thought, I am not a person of color. I do come with immense privilege, and I do know this on a day-to-day basis. I'm always asking myself, how am I challenging these systems that privilege me? Because they're still hurting me. They're hurting the people that I love. And so I loved how she put it. She said, sometimes with systems and with white leaders and with white policies, we just need someone to open the gate.
Yeah, someone just have to give the
Just
voice in.
Yeah, just
punch it
open
in.
that gate and
Yeah.
let us walk through, right? Like roll down the red carpet. And that's exactly what I want to do. That's what I want all of whoever's listening who is white and does experience immense privilege, like open the gate and step back and let people of color, let immigrants be the narratives, amplify their voices. They've always had a voice. It's not like no one has ever had a voice. We just haven't listened.
Yes. And for immigrants and POCs as well, people of color as well, like, stand tall, go to those
Yes.
spaces. If the gate is open, don't be shy.
Yes.
Don't feel like your voice doesn't matter. Go to those town hall, go to those protests, go leave a comment, go email your MPs, do something. Don't just let your desire, your struggle goes to waste. Those struggle, can be something else if you let it be, if you speak it out.
Yeah,
it can
absolutely.
be a very positive change.
Exactly, which will plant these seeds of growth that will hopefully change and uproot this system that is so unfortunately toxic and is hurting all of us, that we definitely need that change. So that's our encouragement to you all.
Yes, encouragement to everyone out there. Oh my God. But that does not just talk about immigrants, obviously. I think that strength of change, exchange of, keep going and speak out. Also, you can use that in every aspect of life as well.
Yeah. And for the white communities that are out there, listen, the system is still not helping.
Yeah.
So take a step back, learn about whiteness from communities of color. They're the experts. They really are. And be changed and be willing to grow and make your world better, not just for yourself, but for your neighbor and the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So beams of sunlight on this cloudy topic. And so we are going to do our Canadian pop quiz, which is related to the topic.
Yeah, of
and
course.
It's fun. And I think, I don't know what you're going to ask me, although I wonder if either of us are going to get this question, because this is a topic we know very well. I'm just curious to see who gets it right, or maybe none of us. I don't know.
None of us are getting it right, or maybe we have the same question.
Maybe we do. We've done that before.
Yes. That would be so funny.
Yes. All right, Hostion, you go first, my love.
I go first. Okay.
Yes.
My question is, what is the year that Canada allows dual citizenship?
Oh, great question. I have no idea. I'm going to say 1985.
I will give you, is in the 1970s.
1970s. Oh, 1979.
Close enough. It's
okay.
1977.
Okay. Peace, love. Yay.
Yay.
Dual citizenship. Really interesting. What? Yeah. Do you know? Did you research maybe what was the reason for it, or?
Yeah, no, I was just researching about citizenship, what you can or cannot do, and then I find that data.
1970. Okay.
I find that information. Yeah.
I am curious, so I'll probably seek out the reason why. But that's a very 1970. Yeah, seven. Okay.
1977. Yeah.
Okay. Well, mine also has to do with citizenship.
Oh.
So, question: what percentage of all immigrants in Canada became citizens?
Immigrants. 87.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Close. 80.7%.
80.7. Oh.
80.7%.
Yeah.
Have become citizens. That's all immigrants. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's folks that have been here a really long time. That's new immigrants, but that's also children immigrants, maybe second generation immigrants who grew up in Canada, and then they became citizens later. That's my quiz, but good job. You got it. Like, you were so close. We were
I
both
actually
so
read
close.
that data. I really thought 87, but 80.7. Okay.
80.7. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. This was so fun. So, Hostion, do you want to give our listeners a sneak peek as to what next episode is going to be about? I know it's your fave.
Oh, the next episode is
Adorbs.
about intercultural romance.
Mwah, mwah.
I know, which is
Yes.
something that I have been in for
Yes.
a number of times.
Yes. And which
Um,
seriously, I married an American, so I do not fit this conversation at all, but I'm going to ask you lots of questions. So listen next week. We're going to talk about intercultural romance. And thanks so much for listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go to our website for more resources in
Yes.
canadiansalad.ca.
Yes. And check us out on Instagram. We're on Instagram. Send our podcast reels to your friends, family. We're going to get the word out there. These are some pretty great topics, and we know that we are only as strong as the people who listen to us. So go team.
Exactly. And leave us a comment, DM us, email
Yes.
us, whatever
Yes.
you like, just send us some comments. We would love to
That's
hear
right.
some.
That's right. We would. Okay. Well, have a great week. Be safe, stay warm, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes. Next
Okay.
week. See you next week.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hostion Ho and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Drinklin production.